There comes a moment in every life when the world grows so loud with opinions that you begin to question the quiet truth inside your own heart. You look around and see people moving ahead, achieving dreams, overcoming obstacles, and somewhere along the way, a dangerous thought slips into your mind. Maybe I am not enough. But what if that thought is the greatest lie you have ever believed? What if the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you dream of is not talent, luck, or perfect timing, but your willingness to believe in yourself? Every remarkable journey in history began with someone who chose faith over fear, courage over comfort, and possibility over doubt. They were not born knowing they would succeed. They simply refused to let uncertainty decide their future. Today, I want to remind you of something that life may have caused you to forget. Your value is not measured by your failures. Your future is not imprisoned by your past. The dreams living inside you were placed there for a reason, and every challenge you have survived has been quietly preparing you for a purpose greater than you can imagine. The mountain before you may seem impossible to climb, but mountains do not move because they become smaller. They move because someone is brave enough to take the first step. So if your confidence has been shaken, if disappointment has made you doubt your own strength, or if the world has convinced you to settle for less than you deserve, stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, I hope you will remember one life-changing truth. When you truly believe in yourself, anything becomes possible. There comes a moment in every life when the world grows so loud with opinions that you begin to question the quiet truth inside your own heart. You look around and see people moving ahead, achieving dreams, overcoming obstacles, and somewhere along the way a dangerous thought slips into your mind. Maybe I am not enough. But what if that thought is the greatest lie you have ever believed? What if the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you dream of is not talent, luck, or perfect timing, but your willingness to believe in yourself? Every remarkable journey in history began with someone who chose faith over fear, courage over comfort, and possibility over doubt. They were not born knowing they would succeed. They simply refused to let uncertainty decide their future. Today, I want to remind you of something that life may have caused you to forget. Your value is not measured by your failures. Your future is not imprisoned by your past. The dreams living inside you were placed there for a reason, and every challenge you have survived has been quietly preparing you for a purpose greater than you can imagine. The mountain before you may seem impossible to climb, but mountains do not move because they become smaller. They move because someone is brave enough to take the first step. So, if your confidence has been shaken, if disappointment has made you doubt your own strength, or if the world has convinced you to settle for less than you deserve, stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, I hope you will remember one life-changing truth. When you truly believe in yourself, anything becomes possible. There is a quiet temptation that visits all of us during difficult seasons. It whispers that because life has become hard, our future must also be hard. It tells us that one failure defines who we are, that one rejection determines our worth, and that one painful chapter has already written the ending of our story. But life has never worked that way. A storm may interrupt your journey, but it cannot decide your destination. The pages filled with disappointment, heartbreak, loss, or uncertainty are only part of the book, not the final sentence. Too often, people close the book on themselves long before life is finished writing it. They surrender to temporary pain and mistake it for permanent truth. Yet every sunrise reminds us that endings are often nothing more than the beginning of another day. Your struggles may have changed you, but they do not have the authority to erase your dreams. They have simply introduced you to a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more prepared than you were before. Think about the strongest people you have ever admired. Their lives were not free from hardship. Their strength was born because hardship demanded something greater from them. Every challenge forced them to discover courage they never knew they possessed. Every setback became an invitation to grow beyond the limits they had accepted. The same is true for you. The obstacles standing in your path are not there only to test your patience. They are also revealing your resilience. You may not recognize it while you are living through the struggle, but one day you will look back and realize that the very season you wished would disappear became the season that shaped your character. Pain has a strange way of uncovering hidden strength. It teaches compassion where pride once lived. It teaches patience where frustration once ruled. Most importantly, it teaches you that your value has never depended on how easy your life has been, but on how faithfully you continue to rise after every fall. There will always be voices eager to remind you of your mistakes. Some people will remember you only for the moments when you stumbled. Others may decide that because you failed once, you are destined to fail forever. Do not allow their limited vision to become your permanent belief. No one else has the right to write the conclusion of your life. Only you decide whether your setbacks become prisons or stepping stones. Every day offers another opportunity to make a different choice, to learn a new lesson, and to walk one step closer to the person you were created to become. Progress is rarely loud. Often it happens quietly, through small decisions repeated with courage and hope. One act of faith today can become the foundation of a completely different tomorrow. So wherever you find yourself at this moment, remember this with all your heart. Your story is still unfolding. The chapter you are living today may be filled with uncertainty, but it is not the final chapter. Keep believing when the road is difficult. Keep walking when the distance seems impossible. Keep trusting that every lesson, every tear, every disappointment, and every victory is shaping a life that is richer than you can currently imagine. One day, you will tell your story, not as someone who was defeated by struggle, but as someone who discovered that the greatest comebacks are born from the moments when giving up seemed like the easiest choice. And when that day comes, you will understand that your struggles were never the end of your story. They were the beginning of your strength. There is a belief that keeps countless dreams locked away, and it sounds reasonable at first. It says, I'll begin when I'm ready. I'll take the chance when I feel more confident. I'll move forward when I know everything will work out. But readiness is often an illusion. Confidence is not something you find before you begin. It is something you build because you begin. The strongest people you know were not fearless when they took their first step. Their hands shook. Their hearts raced. They questioned themselves more times than anyone ever saw. Yet they understood one simple truth. Waiting for perfect certainty can become the greatest obstacle to a meaningful life. Every journey worth taking starts with unanswered questions, unexpected turns, and moments that demand courage more than certainty. Think about a child learning to walk. No one expects perfection on the first attempt. Every stumble is accepted as part of the process because everyone understands that falling is not failure, it is learning. Somewhere along the way, however, many of us forget this lesson. As adults, we become afraid of looking inexperienced. We fear making mistakes. We worry about what others will think if we don't succeed immediately. So instead of taking imperfect action, we remain still. Yet standing still has never brought anyone closer to their dreams. Progress belongs to those who are willing to look uncertain today so they can become stronger tomorrow. Every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person once faced a day when they knew very little, but chose to move forward anyway. The truth is that courage is rarely loud. It is not always found in grand speeches or dramatic moments. Sometimes courage is waking up after disappointment and deciding to try again. Sometimes it is applying for the opportunity you think is beyond your reach. Sometimes it is believing in your own voice after years of silence. Sometimes it is choosing hope when fear offers 100 reasons to quit. These quiet decisions may seem too small to matter, but they are shaping the person you are becoming. Great lives are not built by one extraordinary moment. They are built by ordinary choices repeated with extraordinary consistency. Every time you choose action instead of hesitation, you strengthen your belief that you are capable of more than you once imagined. Do not underestimate the power of a single step. One conversation can open a new door. One habit can transform your health. One book can change the way you think. One act of kindness can restore someone's hope. One decision to refuse defeat can redirect the course of your entire future. Life changes gradually before it changes dramatically. The smallest actions often create the biggest transformations because they teach your heart something priceless. You are no longer controlled by fear. Each small victory becomes evidence that you can handle the next challenge. Over time, those victories become confidence, and that confidence becomes the foundation for dreams that once seemed impossible. So if today you feel unprepared, uncertain, or overwhelmed, do not let those feelings convince you that you should stop. You do not need to see the entire path before taking the first step. The road reveals itself to those who keep walking. Trust that every effort, no matter how small, is carrying you toward a stronger version of yourself. Celebrate progress instead of perfection. Honor persistence instead of speed. Believe that each courageous step is teaching you lessons that waiting never could. One day you will look back, not amazed by how quickly you arrived, but by how far you traveled simply because you found the courage to begin before you felt completely ready. That is how confidence is born, not in comfort, but in the quiet decision to keep moving forward, one brave step at a time. One of the quietest traps in life is waiting for someone else to tell you that you are ready. We wait for approval before we speak, for recognition before we believe in our abilities, and for acceptance before we dare to pursue our dreams. We convince ourselves that if enough people applaud us, then our path must be the right one. But life has never promised that your greatest calling will be understood by everyone around you. In fact, some of the most meaningful journeys begin in complete silence, with no audience cheering and no one offering reassurance. If you spend your life waiting for permission to become the person you were created to be, you may discover that the permission you were seeking was yours to give all along. Your dreams were never meant to depend on someone else's confidence in you. They were meant to grow from your own willingness to believe that your life has purpose, even when others cannot yet see it. There will always be people who measure your future by your past. They will remember the mistakes you made years ago, but overlook the wisdom those mistakes gave you. Some will focus on your weaknesses because they have never taken the time to notice your strength. Others may not discourage you with harsh words. Instead, they will do something even more subtle. They will encourage you to stay comfortable. They will tell you to settle for what feels safe, to avoid taking risks, and to lower your expectations so that disappointment will hurt less. Their advice may sound caring, but a life built only on safety can slowly become a life filled with regret. There is a difference between protecting your peace and hiding your potential. One brings freedom while the other quietly steals it. Remember that every person carries a vision that others cannot fully understand. The dream placed in your heart belongs to you before it belongs to anyone else. You cannot expect people to believe in a picture they have never seen. They may question your choices because they only see where you are today, while you are trying to build the future you know is possible. That is why your belief must become stronger than their doubt. If your confidence depends on constant encouragement, it will disappear the moment criticism arrives. But when your confidence is rooted in your values, your purpose, and your determination to keep growing, the opinions around you lose the power to define your direction. You begin to understand that not every voice deserves a seat at the table where your future is being decided. There is also another form of permission that many people wait for without realizing it. They wait for the perfect age, the perfect opportunity, the perfect amount of money, or the perfect circumstances. They imagine that one day life will suddenly become easy, and then they will finally begin. Yet life rarely unfolds that way. Opportunity often appears disguised as uncertainty. Growth often arrives wearing the clothes of discomfort. The people who accomplish extraordinary things are not those who waited until every condition was perfect. They are the ones who chose to move despite imperfect circumstances. They understood that progress begins the moment excuses end. Every day you postpone your dream because the timing feels imperfect is another day your potential remains hidden from the world. So stop asking whether you have permission to chase the life that calls to your spirit. Stop handing strangers the authority to decide how far you can go. The value of your life has never been determined by applause, titles, or the number of people who believe in you. It is revealed through the courage to honor the gifts you have been given and to use them without apology. Walk toward your purpose even if your steps are small. Speak your truth even if your voice trembles. Keep building your future even if no one notices the work you are doing today. One day people may call your journey inspiring, but they will never fully understand the countless moments when you chose faith over approval. And that is the quiet power of believing in yourself. You no longer wait for the world to open the door because you have finally realized that you are always capable of turning the handle yourself. Fear has a way of making itself sound wise. It tells you that it is protecting you from disappointment, embarrassment, and failure. It urges you to stay where everything is familiar, convincing you that safety is the same as happiness. But if you listen closely, you will discover that fear rarely asks you to grow. It asks you to shrink. It asks you to silence your ideas before anyone can criticize them. It asks you to abandon your dreams before they have the chance to challenge you. It asks you to settle for a life that feels predictable instead of one that feels meaningful. The tragedy is not that fear exists. The tragedy is when fear becomes the voice that shapes every decision you make. A life directed by fear slowly becomes a life filled with unanswered questions and unrealized possibilities. Years later, people often regret the chances they never took, far more than the mistakes they made while trying. The remarkable thing about courage is that it does not require the absence of fear. Courage simply refuses to let fear sit in the driver's seat. You can be uncertain and still move forward. You can be nervous and still speak your truth. You can feel the weight of doubt and still choose the next right step. Some of the most life-changing moments begin with trembling hands and an uncertain heart. The person who starts a new journey, stands up after failure, or chooses hope after heartbreak is not someone who has conquered every fear. They are simply someone who has decided that their purpose is greater than their hesitation. That decision changes everything. Fear may still whisper in the background, but it no longer has the power to decide the direction of your life. Think about all the doors that fear has tried to keep closed. The conversation you never started because you worried about rejection. The opportunity you ignored because you questioned your ability. The dream you placed on a shelf because someone else's opinion seemed louder than your own. Now imagine what your life could look like if you refused to let those fears make another decision for you. Every opportunity carries uncertainty, but uncertainty is not the enemy of success. It is often the birthplace of growth. You discover your strength by stepping into situations that ask more of you than yesterday ever did. You uncover hidden abilities only when life invites you beyond the limits you once accepted. The path may not always be comfortable, but comfort has never been the greatest teacher. Growth has always demanded movement. Faith, on the other hand, asks something different of you. It asks you to believe before you can see the outcome. It invites you to trust that today's effort has value, even when tomorrow remains unseen. Faith reminds you that every seed spends time beneath the soil before it ever reaches the sunlight. During that hidden season, nothing appears to be happening, yet life is quietly preparing to emerge. Your own journey often follows the same pattern. There will be seasons when your progress feels invisible, when your prayers seem unanswered, and when your hard work appears unnoticed. Do not mistake those quiet moments for failure. The strongest roots are often growing where no one can see them. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Keep taking one faithful step after another, even when the results have not yet arrived. So whenever fear comes knocking, remember that you do not have to invite it to stay. Acknowledge its presence, but do not surrender your future to it. Let faith become the foundation beneath your feet and hope become the light that guides your next step. The world has never been changed by people who waited until they felt completely fearless. It has always been changed by ordinary people who chose to act despite uncertainty. You carry that same ability within you. Your future is not waiting for the day fear disappears. It is waiting for the day you decide that your dreams, your purpose, and your belief in yourself are stronger than the doubts trying to hold you back. And when that day comes, you will discover that the greatest victories were never won by those who never felt afraid, but by those who refused to let fear write the story of their lives. There is a moment in every worthwhile journey when quitting begins to sound reasonable. It does not arrive with loud announcements or dramatic warnings. Instead, it slips quietly into your thoughts after another disappointment, another closed door, or another day when your efforts seem to produce no visible results. It tells you that perhaps you have tried enough. It suggests that your dream is asking too much of you and giving too little in return. If you are not careful, you begin to confuse slow progress with no progress at all. But some of the greatest transformations in life happen just beyond the point where most people decide to give up. Success is often less about extraordinary talent and more about extraordinary persistence. The difference between a dream that remains a wish and a dream that becomes reality is frequently found in the simple decision to continue one more day, one more step, and one more attempt. Every mountain looks impossible from the bottom. When you stand at its base, your eyes naturally focus on how far you still have to climb, instead of how much stronger each step will make you. That is why so many people become discouraged. They measure their beginning against someone else's finish. They compare their first chapter with another person's 20th. In doing so, they forget that every remarkable achievement once looked small, uncertain, and fragile. Every towering tree began as a seed hidden beneath the ground. Every masterpiece began with a blank page. Every meaningful life has been shaped by countless ordinary days when someone chose discipline over excuses and hope over despair. Greatness rarely announces itself in dramatic moments. More often, it grows quietly through consistency, patience, and an unwavering refusal to stop moving forward. There will be seasons when your hard work seems invisible. You may give your best and receive little recognition. You may sacrifice comfort while others appear to move ahead with ease. During those moments, it is tempting to believe that your effort is being wasted. Yet life has a way of rewarding persistence in ways that cannot always be seen immediately. Every challenge is teaching you something that comfort never could. Every obstacle is strengthening muscles you did not know you possessed. Every delay is developing patience, wisdom, and resilience that will serve you long after the struggle has ended. The lessons gained through perseverance often become more valuable than the success you were pursuing in the first place. They shape your character, deepen your understanding, and prepare you for responsibilities you could not have carried before. When people look at someone who has accomplished something extraordinary, they often notice the victory, but overlook the countless moments of doubt that came before it. They see the celebration, but not the lonely mornings, the repeated failures, the sleepless nights, or the quiet decisions to try again after every setback. The truth is that remarkable people are not defined by never falling. They are defined by never allowing a fall to become their final destination. They understand that failure is not an identity, it is an experience. It may slow you down, but it does not have the authority to stop you unless you surrender to it. Every setback carries within it the possibility of a lesson that can make your next attempt stronger than the last. The impossible begins to lose its power the moment you stop treating obstacles as signs to quit and start seeing them as invitations to grow. So if today your path feels difficult, remember that the distance you have already traveled is proof that you are capable of going farther. Do not allow temporary frustration to steal a future that is still unfolding. Keep showing up, even when motivation fades. Keep believing, even when results are slow. Keep planting seeds of effort, kindness, discipline, and hope, trusting that they will bloom in their proper season. One day, you will look back and realize that the breakthrough you were praying for did not arrive because life suddenly became easy. It arrived because you became stronger than the challenges standing before you. The impossible did not disappear overnight. It slowly gave way to the steady determination of a heart that simply refused to quit. And that quiet decision, repeated day after day, has always been one of the greatest powers a human being can possess. There comes a point in life when something remarkable begins to change, not because the world has suddenly become kinder or the road has become easier, but because you finally begin to see yourself differently. The circumstances around you may remain exactly the same. The challenges may still be waiting. The obstacles may not disappear overnight. Yet everything feels different because your perspective has changed. The moment you begin to trust your own strength, you stop looking at every problem as proof that you cannot succeed. Instead, you begin to see each challenge as another opportunity to discover what you are truly capable of. Transformation does not begin when life changes. It begins when your belief changes. The greatest victories are first won in the quiet places of the heart, long before they are ever seen by the world. People often imagine transformation as one extraordinary event, a single moment that changes everything forever. But real transformation is usually much quieter than that. It happens every time you choose discipline over excuses. It happens every time you speak kindly to yourself instead of repeating the words of doubt that have followed you for years. It happens when you decide that your mistakes will become lessons instead of lifelong labels. It happens when you stop asking, "What if I fail?" and begin asking, "What if I become the person this challenge is preparing me to be?" These small decisions may seem insignificant on their own, yet together they reshape your character, Day after day, they create a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more confident than the person you were yesterday. Before long, others begin to notice what has been growing within you all along. The beautiful truth is that the world responds differently to those who believe in themselves. This is not because confidence makes someone better than others, but because genuine confidence changes the way a person walks through life. You begin to speak with greater conviction. You make decisions with greater clarity. You recover from setbacks more quickly because you no longer see them as evidence of weakness. You stop chasing approval because you have discovered something far more valuable: self-respect. People are naturally drawn to those who carry quiet confidence, not because they appear perfect, but because they demonstrate what hope looks like in action. Your transformation becomes an invitation for others to believe that change is possible for them as well. Without realizing it, your courage begins to inspire courage in someone else. There will still be difficult days. Believing in yourself does not guarantee that every door will open or that every plan will unfold exactly as you imagine. There will be disappointments, unexpected detours, and moments when old fears try to return. The difference is that you no longer allow those moments to define your future. You understand that one difficult day cannot erase years of growth. One setback cannot destroy the strength you have worked so hard to build. Instead of asking life to remove every obstacle, you trust that you have become capable of overcoming them. That quiet confidence becomes your greatest source of peace. You no longer depend on perfect circumstances because you have learned to depend on the resilience growing within you. As you continue your journey, never forget that your transformation is not measured by applause, recognition, or the number of people who notice your progress. The greatest evidence of change is found in the person you become when no one is watching. It is found in your willingness to rise after disappointment, to remain kind in a world that often rewards bitterness, and to keep believing when results take longer than expected. One day, people may look at your life and call you successful, courageous, or inspiring. They will admire the strength they see, but they may never fully understand the countless moments when you chose faith over fear, perseverance over comfort, and hope over despair. That is the quiet miracle of believing in yourself. Long before the world witnesses your transformation, your heart has already decided that nothing is impossible for a person who refuses to stop believing in the strength that has always been within them.